Hello, everybody. Welcome to my session on how BizApps companies can leverage marketplaces. My name is Paul Liao, and it's a pleasure to be here to chat with you all. Let's see. Let's go ahead and get this going. Uh, you know, we're going to kind of talk a little bit about how BizApps can utilize the marketplace space, even though you kind of traditionally think of it more of a infrastructure or security kind of things. But there's a lot of space for us to all, the mindset of abundance, right? There's a lot of opportunity for us all. So hopefully, I get to share a little bit of my journey in this process, and then you can kind of walk away with some do's and don'ts. Real quick, my cloud journey. I spent about 5 years with AWS, and where I spent two of them working specifically for AWS Marketplace, where conveniently I helped the business application and contact center launch, and then I also helped with the pricing option of the contract with consumption launch. So I've been there for a minute. Then I had the pleasure of working with the fabulous tacklers. That for 2 years, where I also helped with various launches and helping a lot of the ISVs get launched and help with their success. And then for the past year and a half, I worked with Outreach, which is a sales execution platform. And I am the senior partner development manager focusing on cloud alliances. So at this role, I launched us in AWS Marketplace, and we made some, had some modest success and reached to, milestones. And, hopefully with Tackle's help, we'll get to Azure Marketplace next. And just real quick note about Outreach. We are business application, right? We are a sales execution platform that can help your sales organization go from end to end, prospecting, deals management, forecasting, and we're very excited to join the cloud marketplace space because there's just so much opportunity, and we want to bring more value to our customers. So why is there a case against BizApps, right? So this is kind of my flywheel of or flywheels of obstacles. Traditionally, if you think about BizApps, our buyers are not necessarily people with AWS access, or they're not technical buyers, sales organizations. We sell to verticals like manufacturing or sports teams, right? Famously sell tickets and not things in the cloud. So that creates a obstacle of trying to let them know this value proposition. They go, why do I care? Many of them, unless there's a mandate, procurement mandate, they kind of want to go with the path of least resistance. So right away, you kind of hit a wall there. And then you have internally, right, the non-technical sellers. If you're selling frequently to these non-technical people, you got sellers that are really good at talking about the product, but not necessarily where it lives or necessarily with the benefit that comes with it. And then you look at the cloud provider side of things. Right, the case against it is, if we're SaaS, we're biz apps, we don't really generate much spins in that sense, and especially if you're SaaS, you're not running in the customer's tenant or in their account. So where is that extra spins, extra usage? So so there's always seems to be this stall of where can things go. But in reality, right, your prospects, your customers, they're already in the cloud. So we're just really, this whole 2 days of Cloud GTM XP is about helping you connect the dots. So knowing that your prospects are already there, right? Let's find a way to help your champion get a win. So what does that mean? Many of these organizations, technical or not, they may have a marketplace first preference or a charter that's a requirement. So it's all about finding that information going in. So help you connect with your buyer, your point of contact, to say, did you know there's this thing that you're supposed to do? Did you know that there's a quick and easy win for you among your CFOs and your tech leaders? And the ability to bring it up early in the cycle, it helps you get a better chance of connecting with the right people. And also we talk about the non-technical seller. So seller enablement, right? It's a continuous effort. You hear that throughout the 2 days: enablement, enablement, enablement. Because it moves so fast, and every cloud is different. So the continuous refresher will really lead to your success. And we talked about the crawl, walk, run, philosophy. Being that prescriptive can also lead to your success within your organization. So for me, renewals are like the 5 pound dumbbell that will get your sellers started, right? Why? Because they're shorter cycles and tend to be higher success rate, because people may want to continue using it. They don't want to, there's a deadline of the renewal day. So that little bit of momentum can really lead to expansions and new logos. And because your seller just get better practice from it. Cloud sellers have quota too, right? We talked about that third piece of the flywheel of obstacles. Well, they have quotas too. So the drag, the additional infrastructure charges aren't the whole picture. So many of them have specific marketplace quota. So you combine that with the seller enablement and doing renewals. All of a sudden, you're making friends with a seller to say, hey, I can help you get this renewal done easy, help you get the quota hit easy. What other accounts do you have that can potentially be an outreach customer? That's work together. So all of a sudden, right, you leaning on this quota, you leaning on potential spiff, for the sellers based on your membership with APN or MPN. It really started becoming a compelling incentives for them to look at you, despite sort of the misconception of that. Oh, if you don't bring drag, we're not as interested. Let's see, where's my cursor? There you go. Boom. And here's a little nugget of knowledge I kind of learned recently. Shout out to Erica Ford of Fastly. She found this and then shared with us recently that according to Amazon's recent 10K, they have this $110 billion for the next 3.7 years for not yet recognized. So these are commitment that people have through EDP or through PPA, that these are monies that need to be spent. And if AWS Marketplace can alleviate 25% of your annual commitment, that's $27 billion there a year that someone needs to spend it. It might as well spend buying your product, right? So I really like this because we see from Canalys or Forrester talking about potential money going through marketplaces, but here is another side of that equation. Now you have, based on this reporting, there's this concrete amount of money that needs to be spent, and there are commitments. So I just want to include that to kind of really drive that point. So what does that mean, right? So all of that is kind of to say, BizApps can potentially just, if you follow the things we learned today and yesterday, that formula works. But like any recipes, you might have to do one of the equation a little bit more. If you ask for a certain amount of garlic, triple it, quadruple it, right? Because it tastes better that way. So for BizApps, I would like to think that we're going to kind of double click on some of those three things that we talked about. The co-sell, the educating the buyers, and helping the sellers. And then what that means is, let's talk about how I was able to learn in the past year. Um, right, let's revisit this flywheel. So for me, I really leaning on educating the non-technical buyers, and I really leaning on providing a safe and easy way for my sellers to talk about cloud marketplaces. And I really leaning on our partners, APN, MPN, and Tackle for that matter, because there is, as we learned from the previous flywheel, there is that gap of knowledge. So we really need all the helps we can get. So to expand on that, right? So this is kind of my formula, what worked for me for the past year. there are account mapping exercise you can do with AWS. You get this propensity to buy. Shout out to Tackle Prospect, right? You can do similar stuff. Really, what that does is allow me to prescriptively kind of have a attack plan. I can sit down with my sellers and review their accounts and say, you know, all of these 10, these 5 are on AWS Marketplace for your Q2, Q3 renewals. Let's talk about how we can bring it up. So right away, you answered the big question that all the sellers will have is, how do I know, right? How do I know somebody is on AWS? Well, we either ask the customers or we ask AWS or you ask Tackle, right? So right there, I've narrowed down the focus. Then I talked about Outreach being a sales engagement platform. Well, we have templates and email and stuff. We send out to these renewals, start raising awareness among the customers, enabling the sellers to have information they need. And then I lead into APN to do the deal registration, get the account management to come in. Now, you may say, yeah, everybody is saying that throughout the days, right? But for me, this really clicked because if my buyer is non-technical, I'm now finding that budget owner through AWS. I'm finding out a history of buying behavior from AWS. So now my sellers, they're going into this conversation prepared. And so which leads to my kind of, the gaining traction step by step, connecting the dots. So now I can get people all sit in the same table and talk about, educating the buyer and to know this benefit that they didn't realize they need to have. So a quick, case study of what I've been able to accomplished. Renewal 1, the company was actively shopping and evaluating for a competitor that's not on AWS Marketplace. And then through AWS, we were able to co-sell and learn that their engineering leader had renewed a large EDP just very recently. And they got to have, so now they have this marketplace first preference. Our point of contact did not know that. So connecting the dots. We got AWS to coordinate this internal meeting. And a day after this internal meeting, they come back and they say, yep, let's go ahead and renew. A week later, they expanded to 2-year quote because of this ease of ability to forecast their EDP spend, right? So that's kind of what we learned is people may buy more if they opt to go through AWS Marketplace. Similar, renewal 2, layoff, budget cuts, market conditions. They ask for the sun, the moon, and they specifically say no multi-year, no way. Now, by connecting the dots with AWS, we're able to reiterate the value in place. Shortly after, they come back and said, forget about 1 year, 2 years only. So not only we save the contraction, we're able to limit the damage. We kind of live for another year to wait for the condition to improve. We continue this relationship, and we're able to build and build and build on this value. And so just right, to sum up, finding allies, we're able to gain support from the budget owner, and we're able to accelerate deals by reduce the pressure of pricing and see contraction, and then we're able to forecast, help them to forecast future drawdown. A little bit of report card, right? So we were able to hit 120% of our target, mostly through renewals and expansions. We were able to hit 160% of our target TCV. I love that I draw down, point out this 4K, smaller renewal because, we think about EDP enterprise pricing, but there are still people that can benefit this, they may not come into, hundreds of millions. So we're able to provide more value to our customer, large or small. And I was going to be kind of vulnerable for a second, talk about how I still haven't got my new logo and, kind of really nailed on the message that this is hard. That's why you keep working. That's why you work with Tackle and so on. But as of yesterday morning, I did get my first new logo. So, now I get to celebrate with you all. But it is still hard. It is still hard. I've been doing this for a minute. It's a small new logo, but you work the formula, you kind of follow those steps. It does happen, and it does help with that flywheel. So, right. So, what does that mean, right? Looking ahead, BizApps, it is hard, but it's possible. You're leaning on your three, your flywheels. So, what am I gonna do? What am I looking forward to? Well, I want to level up with APM, right? So, really leaning on the partner, gain more value there. Whether that means my AWS sellers get a better cut, or more referrals down the road, level up. Better co-marketing activities, right? Drive awareness. Uh, so many of my deals are from the customers coming to us, the AE, and say, "Hey, are you on AWS Marketplace?" Or, "I think I saw a press release about you being on AWS Marketplace. Can we do that?" So that awareness, that education is key, and so those co-marketing activities can really help drive. We're going to launch an additional cloud marketplace soon. Because again, the same formula. We're going to take it. We're going to be prescriptive. We're going to take it into Azure and try to hope for the same success. And again, it's a team sport, right? So and then finally, enablement, enablement, enablement. I say it's a marathon, but I feel like I just ran like a sprint. I'm out of breath. But I think we're about like a minute left. Now I'm gonna try to look at the chat a little bit to see if there's any good questions. I will sit in the lounge for a little bit to to answer any questions or to connect with friends. Thank you all for the kind words and giving me the opportunity to share a little bit of my experience. Hopefully, you all find it helpful.